Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Hello and welcome to this episode of A Woman's Prerogative, where we find high-class education for all our viewers, and we also encourage followers to have access to free content that will help them on their journey on Earth. This episode of A Woman's Prerogative is the joy of 4 seasons. Why is it so great? So welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I introduce myself, Reverend Lydia Fougères, Reverend in Metaphysics, author of 2-volume books series 111 Reflection for Thy Earth Odyssey. I am also a spiritual teacher who works on transformation, introspection, mindfulness for an compassionate self-discovery journey. I invite my readers to engage in life through curiosity, clarity, and sense of sacred connection through my programs. You can contact me to register to my groups to achieve an exciting spiritual journey. I am also country manager for this station in Canada and French-speaking countries. So if you want to be on a show as a guest, or if you want to have your own show on USA Global TV and Radio, we are now in French, in German, in English. If you would like to have your show, we would be very happy to have you and join in the family. I will put you in contact with Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, that is the owner of the station. So, talking about Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, she is the owner of the station, producer of our shows, but we have 4 more producers also because we have several shows. But Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck is the co-host of this show today, all the time actually, and she is a private advisory, global media leadership founder, executive producer, chief listening officer, USA Global TV, Radio, Peace Ambassador. She is #1 best-selling author for several books, and she is the one that actually won 2025 YouTube Silver Creator Award. So let us welcome the beautiful Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck.
Thank you so much for having me, Reverend. I love this topic also, and the fact that we are here talking about the seasons. I think this will be another great episode. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. It is my pleasure. So that is it. So we both have 4 seasons. So, but you were in Florida in the past. So you were used to having only, 2 seasons, which is like pretty much, spring, if I'm not mistaken, pretty much spring and summer, because it was like, it would get a little more cold and then, warm again. But now you are in New Jersey, so there's the 4 seasons. I am in Canada, Quebec, Canada, Eastern Canada, so I am in the freezing cold in winter. And you have fun listening to my stories when I'm at minus 30.
Unbelievable. And you're always smiling when you're telling your stories about what you're doing outdoors. And I'm thinking, go girl, because I can't do it. I can't do it. So I am interested to hear how and why you like the Four Seasons, because I don't know that I'm such a big fan, but we can talk about that later.
Well, the thing is, why I like the Four Seasons, because there are some changes. There is, there's the awakening, and then, there is the being in the present moment, being in the summer, the warmth and everything. And then there's the fall, which is some kind of farewell. And then you are in the winter, which is a time to just be, and then you're back to the awakening. So the Four Seasons represent that to me. So this is the way I see the Four Seasons. So yes, with all their problems also, but I see the Four Seasons that way. How do you see the Four Seasons?
I grew up in Pennsylvania, so I was always around the Four Seasons, but I was very blessed because we had a home in Florida. And so I got to go there. And even as an adult in my later years of life, I lived in Florida before I moved back to New Jersey. And I loved the weather, even though I'm not a beach goer. I don't go outside. I don't suntan. I did when I was much younger. But then the reality of what the sun can do to you and how it ages you faster. But I love that feeling of the sun beating on you. I just feel like you feel so alive. And I started taking hot yoga, which was called Bikram yoga back in the day. And I did that for 20 years. And I absolutely loved the heat. I would stand in the hottest part of the room. And sometimes I would do a double class, 90 minutes back to back. And just because I love the heat so much and how your body really loosens up and you can get into poses that you couldn't. And today, I feel my hamstrings are always really tight, but I really love the hot weather, but I didn't want to live there anymore. I think I just needed a change. So to your point, I think it is interesting how each of the seasons brings something new. And when we are coming out of winter into spring, it's very exciting. We start to see things blooming and budding. And I think it gives us a sense of rebirth.
Exactly. But I do not like when it is too hot. So I have a little bit of trouble understanding the hot yoga thing. But it is like for me, you have trouble understanding that actually I'm going in the woods at minus 20. So it
That I
is pretty
can
much
Well, think about it this way. So when you're going to hot yoga, and I haven't gone in a long time, but if I had a choice of going to yoga, it would always be hot because your muscles start to loosen up. And so you can do something that you couldn't have done beforehand. And so then there's something called muscle memory, where your muscle remembers that it was stretched out a little bit. And then if you're not in the heat and you try to do some type of stretch, like even downward facing dog, and you try to get your heels so they're closer to the ground, it's going to be easier if you're in heat than if you were in, let's say, 30 degrees below. But at the same time, there's this whole thing about cold plunging, which is not something that I am doing, but there's a whole thing about how that cold water is so good for you. So I guess they both have their place.
Oh, absolutely. Because the thing is that, I do go in spas, and, I do not like the cold plunging, but, when I go in saunas, it is really, really, really hot. I have trouble with the heat, you know that. And then, I go and do the cold plunging. It was like, oh my. And I get out of there and I go back to the sauna. It's
It's
so hard. And
interesting.
then
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
go, no, go ahead.
Because I know that there must be some research on this and I haven't done it. But to me, I feel like and the place where I work out, they have cold plunging. They've cold plunging classes, and somebody I know actually runs some of these things. But I would think it's such a shock to your body. Like when it's hot, you feel the temperature going up, right? It's getting hotter, it's getting hotter. But a cold plunge, you're going from whatever the temperature is that's normal, you're like, boom. And I would think that it would be a shock for your heart that all of a sudden, wow, you are forced into this situation. So for me, and I have circulation problems in my hands and my feet. Every time I say this word, people say I'm not saying it correctly. Oh, if it's Raynaud's, whatever it is. So the last thing I want to do, like my hands right now are really cold. I don't want to put my hands and feet in freezing cold water.
Oh, I understand, because we call it Renault disease. But the thing is that because, Renault is French name. So
I thought it's French. How do
Renault,
you say it? Renault?
yes, Renault.
Renault.
Renault, le syndrome de Renault disease. So it's a very difficult situation, because the thing is that, yes, I understand you're always cold. Your hands and feet are always cold. And I understand that you do not want to go cold plunging. And I know that, I do not have a wonderful thyroid. So the thing is that I do have a problem with hot and cold also. So the thing is that cold plunging is not such a sport for me. So I do it. But the thing is that, my pulse is really low. My pulse is in the 50s. So I imagine when I do cold plunging, it goes into 30s.
Oh, yeah.
Because the thing is, the pulse just goes down. So I do think that it all depends on what we are looking for when we do whatever sport. So that is it, And hot yoga, I will try hot yoga. I do, well, yes, I will dedicate myself to try hot yoga.
I think there's a lot of benefits to it. I just stopped doing it because I had done it for so long, and then I hurt my wrist when I was teaching spinning, and you use your wrist a lot when you're doing poses. And then I like the other things that I'm doing so much. I don't want to say more, because I love the hot yoga, but when Bikram, the founder of Bikram Yoga, when he had his legal issues and left the country, and then it changed to hot yoga instead of Bikram yoga, and then it was 26 and 2, 26 exercises and 2 breathing exercises. It changed. So it used to be that wherever you would go and they had the Bikram yoga, it was the same format, the same poses in the same order, at the same temperature. Everything was controlled. And then it changed where it became a lot more subjective. So I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I liked it when it was, because I like structure and discipline. I like knowing it was going to be exactly the same thing for the same amount of time. And I think something else that is interesting when you think about the seasons is people will elect to go on vacations. Maybe people like skiing or they like snowboarding, and they're actually going to pay money to go to a place where it's cold. And then you have other people who only want to go places where it's hot. So I think that everybody has their own thought process. Do you like outdoor sports such as skiing or snowboarding?
I do not ski at all. At all. I do not really enjoy skiing. Um, I do like snowshoeing. This is something I do like. But when it is too cold, I do not like it. I have to admit, I do not enjoy snow. I like being on a snowmobile when it is not too cold. But the thing is that the secret is to be well dressed. When one is well dressed, we are not cold at all. So the thing is that, we are well dressed, and it is beautiful, and it is relaxing, and I just love it. So the thing is that I was raised in such a climate. So the thing is that, I was raised in a town that was 5,280 feet above sea level. So the thing is, it was cold.
Yeah,
It was
so
very
you
cold.
have that in your blood. I think when you're not used to that. It's really shocking. And I think case in point is when my mother was living full time in Florida, her blood thinned, right? So that even if it was 60 degrees, she was really cold. And you can see it also with people's dogs. In Florida, when there's a frost, I mean, even if it gets down to, I don't know what the temperature would be, but it doesn't stay there for very long, but people have these sweaters on their dogs. And you also see the iguanas in the trees, and they are literally comatose. They fall asleep and then they just fall out of the tree because of the cold weather. So it's an evolution. I think it's what you get used to. But if I had to pick between hot and cold, I would definitely pick the heat. And if I had to pick between spring and fall, I would pick the spring.
I would pick fall. I would pick the fall because I love the fall. I just love, when walking in the leaves and everything. But spring is nice also. But to me, fall is so beautiful.
It
It
is,
is.
but it's telling us that the winter's coming. It's like the next spring, next season is winter, everyone.
Yes, yes, that is it. But I do admit that I am not as much a winter person as I used to be as I age. So maybe it is when we are younger, it is different because when I was in my hometown, I used to go swim in the lake and I'd move the ice. So I'd cross the lake, I'd move the ice while I was swimming.
Oh my gosh.
That was crazy.
That is definitely something else. I cannot say that I would like to do that. Now, where I go and work out, they actually have 3 pools indoors. One is for the children, and then the other is a lap pool or walking pool, and then the third one is for the swim team to compete and do their matches. But when the swim team is not, you can go in there. So one day I made the mistake of going into the swim team pool, and I was like, oh my word, it's freezing. I got right out of there. And I went into the other one because I'm so used to warmer water. So it's heated and it just feels fantastic. So I don't know what it is, but I guess we all just have our preferences, even though the cold water is supposed to be good for us. Have you ever done put your face in a bowl of ice?
Yes, yes.
And what do you say about that?
Well, it's difficult, but it's good for the skin. It is really good for the skin. So the thing is that, I have done it many times. The thing is that, it just closes the pores. So I do it once in a while, and I do not enjoy it, but I do it.
How long do you
So
submerge your face?
no, not long. I stay a minute and then, I just get out, do it in a second and a third time. Then it is over. It is absolutely
Sounds
over.
torturous.
But I do it. I do it. And I know it is crazy. So, but I do it. And the thing is that, if you'd see the glow that we have after doing such a thing, as the ice on our face, it is amazing. When we do the heat, it is good. But the thing is that when we do the ice, it is even better. Yeah, maybe you should try that.
Maybe we'll see. I don't know. I've noticed, and we're off topic on this, but since I stopped drinking alcohol and eating sugar, I noticed a big difference in my skin. So it seems to have more of a, I don't want to say a glow, but maybe glow than it used to. So I think what we put into our bodies also makes a difference. But one of the things I think is so cool about the seasons, if we just relate it to life, is the fact that we have an option to make a choice. And so we can choose where we live for most of us. We can choose if we want to be cold or we want to be warm, but we can also choose how we show up when there is change. And with the seasons, we expect that the seasons are coming. And of course, with what's going on with global warming, whether you believe or not, obviously the nights are getting a certain, things are changing. But the point is, how do we change when we know change is coming, how do we show up? Do we embrace it? Even like with daylight savings time, sometimes they have a real hard time when the clock is going to be adjusted. What are your thoughts?
Well, yes, I know some people have a lot of trouble with when the clock has to be adjusted. I know I have no trouble, and I do not have any trouble in adjusting to the weather. So the thing is that the only thing that I have trouble with is the wind. So I am a person that I know for a fact that I would not be able to live where there are hurricanes because I am absolutely terrified of hurricanes. So I know my limits and I would not be able to live where there are hurricanes. So I'd rather be in a place where it is cold than taking the chance of a hurricane. I know, but I do have my limit, and my limit is the wind. The wind scares me. This is strange, but the wind scares me. So, what do you think about like the dangers of living in a place where there are hurricanes? What do you think about that?
Well, where we lived in Florida, it was hurricane season, September and October, and so we had hurricane doors and hurricane shutters, and it is frightening. It is absolutely frightening. But at the same point, there was Hurricane Ian, I think it was, and I actually was in New Jersey. It was during the pandemic, and I was with my mother. And where we were on the water, and the entire bay seemed to come out from the bay and run across the lot next to us. And that was the most frightening thing I've ever seen because the water was coming so quickly and it was like nothing was going to stop it. And I really thought the house was going to get washed away. And to just stand there and see that the hurricane had started and it had hit in Florida. And then this was kind of the ripple effect in New Jersey that you wouldn't think it would be that strong. And it was unbelievable. So Mother Nature really knows what she's doing and she is strong. Do not mess with her.
Well, I do understand because as I told you in my message today, actually today, we are going through something because it's spring. So the thing is that there are floods, and today my life partner was not even able to go to work because there are three roads to go to Montreal, and the three roads are flooded. So they closed schools around, and the road has been washed away at some point, and we're stranded. So we are stranded. We cannot go anywhere, and maybe 1, 2, 3 days. I do not know. It goes fast usually, but last year we were stranded on one side only, so we could go around. But this is the first time, actually, to my knowledge, that I am stranded and in a place. But this is due to floods. So this is something that is new to me, being stranded because of water. And I was living on an island near Montreal. So, and I was never stranded there. So, what do you think about that?
Well, I think like in any situation, you mentioned the wind. The wind is very scary. And I know for me, I live in a high rise, and when the wind starts to just do its thing, it is frightening because it seems like there's no way of stopping it. And then you wonder, is the building, was it when they build it, was it built so that it can move back and forth with the wind? But I think that every part of the seasons, there can be something that can be frightening, like hail, for example, a hailstorm, a cyclone, a tornado, you mentioned it. So I don't know that choosing one place over another, we eliminate all potential for natural disasters. So I think it's just embracing where you are and finding the good in it. And if it's really not serving you from a health perspective, for example, you can move, find a way to make it happen. set some intentions. And sometimes it seems like it's impossible. But as you and I both know, the power of positive thinking and working with someone like you and asking the universe to send something your way, I think is a great way to look at it.
Yes, absolutely. You're right. Well, you are right most of the time. So,
Well, bless you, child. Thank you.
well, that is the way, when I have a question, when I have this amazing question that I do not know the answer, who do I call? Dr. Jacalyn. So that is the way I see things. So the thing is that, like hail, that is so true. When we have hail, hail is not fun, but I have to admit that here in Canada, where I live, I saw hail only twice in my entire life. And I know that hail can be extremely dangerous. So I would imagine that a hailstorm must be extremely scary. So I do understand that places like India, where they have pouring rain for weeks, I don't, they call them the monsoon. Could you correct me on that? They
That's
call
right. Monsoon. Yeah.
the monsoon. So I would not enjoy being in the rain for weeks. I would not enjoy that. And there was also someone that was telling me from India that actually, I was showing them that this during the summer, here there's light until like 10 o'clock in the evening. And then it is so polluted where in New Delhi that at 4 o'clock in the afternoon it was starting to be dark because of the pollution. So when we think about that, we really do choose where we live and we can be happy with our choice. So what do you think about that?
I think you just hit the nail on the head. I think it's really about being happy with where you are. And there's an expression someone said to me, keep your head where your feet are. And I always think about that because I know people who are constantly wishing for something else. And maybe they have something coming up, let's say a vacation. It's like all they can think about is, I've got to get through this day for the vacation. It's like, enjoy the ride wherever you are, whatever is going on. There's always something incredible to see. And one of the things I mentioned earlier about iguanas, I am definitely not a fan of the iguana because when I lived in Florida, we had probably 15 of them living on our roof. And they're quite sizable and they make noise and they move that tail back and forth. But when you are out for a walk and you see them, they, even as you're walking, sometimes they fall out of the tree because there was a frost and you just see they're completely unconscious. It's like you feel bad because it's a living creature, but I don't want to be around it. But I did actually see the beauty in it, but I'd like to see it from a distance as opposed to very close nearby. And I think it's the same thing. I was on a cruise with my mother. I actually earned the trip when I was in corporate, and I took my mom and we went on an Alaskan cruise, and I'll never forget seeing the icebergs. I mean, it's pretty overwhelming when you just see the size of the things. And at the same time, it's also, to me, I hate to use the word terrifying, but I will. The ocean, as beautiful as it is terrifying because if you go overboard, even if you're on a boat, I don't ever want to be in the water because of all the things that live there. But yet, if you're scuba diving or snorkeling and you see the things, you're like, oh, look how beautiful. But I don't want to be swimming with them. I'll watch a documentary. So there are so many things in nature that are absolutely glorious and beautiful. But I think it's all a matter of what your perception is of it.
I think exactly the same thing as you. I went on a cruise and I would never have wanted to go scuba diving or things like that. And it is me also. I went with my mom. That is the thing is that I would not like to scuba dive or go in the ocean or things like that. And I can swim very well. But the thing is that, it is scary to have those fish at you or things like that. But I was I was in Florida in 2000 and I don't remember. Anyways, 2000. Anyways, doesn't remember. I don't remember. And then I decided to go to swim. And when I swim, I swim and I just lose track of time because I love swimming. And then I was so far that actually, there was a seagull that was there in the water with me and in front of me. And then I realized I was so far and everyone was just like waving at me. And everyone was so small. So there was there was a lifeguard that came because he thought I was doing something extremely dangerous. And I did not even realize that, there are sharks there. So what do you think of this adventure?
No, I totally agree with you. And I think also it has to do with entertainment and what we've actually watched. So if you think way back to whenever it was the movie Jaws that came out, I would be in a swimming pool and I'd be like, oh no, is there a shark in here? Which sounds ridiculous. But there's a new movie that's out on Netflix. I forget the name, but there's some kind of huge storm. And now the sharks have left the ocean and they're actually swimming through the neighborhood and they're coming through the houses. And I think when you see all of that, if you are, somewhat leery of going in the ocean. I'm a very good swimmer, but I can't outswim a shark, and I'm not gonna be able to fight off a shark. And you see these stories. So to me, it's kind of like putting yourself into a situation where you're not going to have a lot of control. And maybe somebody who is an avid boater, maybe they would disagree with me and they'll give me some kind of metrics about how often it actually happens. But I also watched a movie recently about a group of guys who rented a boat. Wish I remember the name of it. Four really good friends, and there was a storm, and the boat capsized, and what they went through. And I thought, you couldn't pay me nothing, zero. I don't care how much you had to give me. I am not going out on the ocean. I don't even walk in the ocean, believe it or not, because I'm allergic to shellfish. So if they were to bite me, so I could sit on a beach and I can just see it. I can look at it and say, it's so nice, but I don't have any interest in going in. I'm sure that makes me sound strange.
No, this is not strange at all because I feel the same. I actually feel the same. It is something that actually, we have the advantage of understanding because the thing is that when we have fears, fears are fears. That is all. And the thing is that some people are scared of clouds. We fear the ocean. That is the way it is. And I understand your fear because I do have the same fear. And that is the way it is. But Florida is always warm. Well, most warm most of the time. But the thing is that Canada, New Jersey, this we have the four seasons. So the thing is that we can enjoy fall, we can enjoy the spring, we can enjoy the winter, but the winters in Canada are very harsh, I have to admit. The spring is absolutely beautiful, but the winters are harsh. And I do not know about the winters in New Jersey, but the weather here can become extremely cold. So, what is about the weather in New Jersey in the winter? We're going to finish with that, the winter in New Jersey, if you do not mind.
Well, it seems to be more mild than it used to be. We're not far from Philadelphia, and they're always announcing how much snow there was every year. So in the last few years, there's not as much snow, I believe, as there has been in the past. But the thing about that is that in New Jersey, we're prepared for snow. So being prepared for snow means that we have vehicles, we've got salt, we've got sand, we've got whatever is needed. Whereas there's some places in the country where they're not prepared for snow. So when it happens, even if it's like an inch, it's all complete chaos. But this past winter, which just left us a little while ago, I do know that people would share with me in the city of Philadelphia that some of the snow was piled up so high that there's no parking because people are parking on the streets, especially if you're a resident, and there was no ability to park. So I think it also gets dirty if you think about it after snow's been around for a long time, and then it turns black or you have black ice. But here where I live, they're pretty much prepared. They're out icing, they're out doing whatever it is that they need to do to make sure to keep us safe. But we don't have anywhere near the amount of snow that we used to, at least in my memory.
Oh, yes, well, that's good to know. So thank you very much, Dr. Jacalyn, for being in the show. You know, I am always thrilled to have you. It is amazing. You have such a great look at life. You look at life in a pretty much a great way. And whatever you say is always enlightening. So thank you very much for being with us. Thank you actually for having this wonderful channel. And please do not forget anyone to subscribe to Dr. Jacalyn's channel neither. So USA Global TV and radio, subscribe, and Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck's channel, please subscribe. So I am Reverend Lydia Fougères. So I am very happy to have had you today. So thank you very much for our friends that came to see us and to all of our viewers. So it was a pleasure, and see you next week for A Woman's Prerogative. Namaste.
My Tummy Hurts by Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Meet Jackie. She loves recess, running with friends and laughing on the playground. At school, Jackie tries to play like she always does, but suddenly the pain comes back. Lately, something feels different and her tummy hurts, sometimes a little and sometimes a lot. With the help of a caring teacher, a nurse, her mom, and a kind doctor, Jackie begins to understand what her body is trying to tell her. Sometimes tummy pain is more than a simple bellyache. Some children live with conditions like ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease. Jackie listens to her body. She asks for help. She knows she's not alone. And Jackie finds her way back to running, laughing, and being herself. My Tummy Hurts, a kid's guide to bellyaches and bathroom troubles by Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, available on Amazon and in fine bookstores around the world.
Meet Lady Ella, a special ladybug who is trained by Grand Beetle on how to listen at an elevated level. After earning her gold wings, Mother Earth and Father Universe asked her to travel across the solar system, teaching life lessons to creatures to respect one another and to listen. Learn more about her travels in the book series, The Amazing Adventures of Lady Ella. The Amazing Adventures of Lady Ella, the Listening Mentor. Lady Ella's ABCs of Listening. Lady Ella has afternoon tea in London. The ocean calls and Lady Ella listens. Lady Ella listens in the Baobab National Game Park. Lady Ella's space adventure across the universe. The magical adventures of Lady Ella and her super-powered friends. There are also collections of colouring books for parents and kids. Providing world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Join our team of elevated listeners to teach children elevated listening skills. Lady Ella would like to teach you and your family how to listen at an elevated level. If you're interested in learning life lessons as well as how to communicate more effectively as a family, go to Amazon and order Lady Ella's books. They're all there just waiting for you.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA-Global-TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.